What do we really know about dolphins? Observations of wild dolphins tell us that they're social, playful, and inquisitive. We can watch them frolic in the waves or foraging for supper, as well as interacting with each other. And over the last several decades, we've also learned much about their cognition, their creativity, their personalities, their culture, and their intelligence. How do we know these things? When we care for dolphin health and welfare in dolphinaria worldwide, we develop a more clear perspective of every dolphin in our care and in the wild. We develop a relationship with these beings. We communicate about a variety of topics without even sharing a language. We see how they live as a pod and as a family.
It's the time that you spend with the dolphin after the fish is all done. That's when it really counts. That's when they know that you want to spend time with them just to spend time, and that's when that bond really occurs.
For nearly 80 years, humans and dolphins have shared their lives, their habits. We've played together, learned from one another, formed bonds and friendships. It is our responsibility, and one we don't take lightly, to continue to provide the best possible care and welfare for these individuals. The Roatan Institute for Marine Sciences is a special place. Almost 24 coastal bottlenose dolphins live here, full-time, in a natural lagoon setting, experiencing the same social structure as their wild counterparts.
You know, it was our idea to manage the animals this way because this is how you would find them in nature, you know, all living together, the males coming and going from the female groups. Even inside of the female group, there might be 10 girls together on one day, and then another day 5 and 5 or 7 and 2. And so it's nice that they are all in a general location, but they don't all stay together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So part of being in this large group of animals is that they have choices. They get to choose who they're going to hang out with. And that's what's really the most natural part of how we keep the animals.
For almost 3 decades, Terry and Eldon Bolton, with a team of nearly 40 animal trainers and staff, have managed this population of dolphins, ensuring good welfare by providing proper health care and high-quality food has been of paramount importance. This core belief is one of the cornerstones of a healthy, enriched, sustainable dolphin pod that mirrors wild dolphin pods.
I've been studying the dolphins here at RIMS 18 years. So, oh, there's Polly. Yes, it is. This is Polly, and that's Dory, and that's Ellie. Nope. So, been observing them the same way we observe the dolphins in Bimini or in Japan, so the wild groups, and not finding any difference when we compare the data, which is pretty cool. Looking at individuals and how they share information, and that's Gracie right there. Thanks, Dory. It's pretty cool.
The data from Kathleen's long-term comparative behavioral studies indicate that no matter what environment the pod lives in, the social structures are very similar. This fact supports Terry and Eldon's management approach. The dolphins spend a large portion of each 24-hour period as a group or as a smaller subgroup, depending on their interactions and behavior on any given day. These dolphins regularly experience a social setting similar to other coastal bottlenose dolphins, while also developing relationships with their human caregivers.
Sometimes I'm distracted talking with the other trainer. We are not at the moment feeding the dolphin, and I just hear her sometimes making songs at me. I look back and there she is. So with that bond we have with each other, I can be standing anywhere that she's capable of seeing me, she will follow me. So that's how I can know for sure that she knows me really good, and she trusts me and she like working with me, just like I love working with her. She makes me happy, and I know I make her happy too when she sees me. Pretty girl? Kind of put the nickname on there, Pretty Polly. I like teaching Polly new things, and what we're working on right now is we bury an object. Well, what we're using right now is a square. We don't have her see that we are burying it, so we bury it completely under the sand. Then we give her the signal for the square, and give her a clue, like point down, like that the square is somewhere under the sand. And she used her echolocation. That's when you can hear a lot of the clicking sound, and she starts to look in the sand for the square. And finally, then she finds it, and that's her new behavior that we are working on. But since we've been working on burying the square under the sand so we can see how our echolocation functions, and as you can see, it's excellent, it's great. So I would call it finding the square under the sand. And Polly is perfect at it now.
The dolphins are social and playful, and engage in lots of vocal and physical behavioral exchange with each other. And they rarely miss a chance to play with their human trainers and visitors. One of the goals of RIMS is to have a high-quality, sustainable tourism program, which dolphins and humans interact with each other voluntarily. This approach offers dolphins choice, which is key to maintaining the best possible welfare for animals. This welfare ethic reaches back to the birth of RIMS in the 1990s, when Eldon and Terry began acclimating the dolphins to spending time outside their enclosures.
We started moving the animals around in this area in between the keys and the backwater a lot. And then eventually when they were comfortable with the boat, we were comfortable with that the animals were familiar and could find their way home in the event they got startled or something. We started to move out of the ocean, and we were kind of blessed to have a big sandy patch real close to the facility, and about 50 feet of water. It's a great spot to put divers on. It's deep enough to really get a feel for the way the animals move around in the water. There's a lot of flounder and eels and things like that, so if they spot something, they'll hunt for it, maybe do some crater feeding or some interesting natural behaviors. So we just kept pressing. We started in 1991.
In less than 1 year, 8 or 10 dolphins at RIMS had comfortably acclimated to spending time outside their lagoon and out on the reef. Six months later, Eldon was confident enough with the dolphins to take guests out to a nearby dive site, and the RIMS Dolphin Dive program was born. A few scuba divers could observe the dolphins underwater in an unstructured setting and interact with the dolphins along the reef with other fish and critters alongside them.
So all these years later, we're working with some animals that are first and second generation, were born in the facility, that have never been in a wild before. And once they get of age and they're weaned from the mom and we get them comfortable moving around the facility and gating, now we're introducing these animals that were actually born in our managed care, taking them back out in the wild to see how they react, which has really been pretty exciting. We're just kind of getting started with that. We've got a few teams of animals that are going out. And these guys are pretty sharp, so hopefully they're going to pick some stuff up, keep the program going with a whole new generation.
It's been 25 years since the Dolphin Dive program began, and even longer that the dolphins have been doing open water walks with Eldon and Terry. In that same 2.5 decades, the dolphins have not strayed far. They have always come back to their lagoon. Why is that? Perhaps the answer lies in the fact that coastal bottlenose dolphins naturally have a very small range and don't travel very far in their day-to-day lives. Or perhaps they just enjoy their dynamic social setting in the lagoon with their friends, both human and dolphin. RIMS has a thriving education program to offer teachers and students, as well as ample opportunity for scientists to formulate and conduct research. Not only is the water often crystal clear, making observing the dolphins in a natural setting easier, but the pod has several known family connections, which is useful background knowledge when conducting certain research studies.
It really does help to know who is related to who when you're talking about social behavior, because it does give you some insight about how mothers relate to calves, brothers and sisters, visiting, revisiting. We even have grandchildren here. So it shows a lot of the different aspects of their society. And like I said, because our conditions are what they are, they're very easy to study.
Research that includes examination of familial associations is often not possible with wild dolphin populations because kin relationships are usually not known.
There are a few areas in the world where, like Sarasota Bay, where people have been studying the animals for generations and they do know who's related to who, but that's a very rare occurrence.
At RIMS, scientists can study the dolphins on a day-to-day basis and for long periods of time. Intimate details of their lives and their family connections, when combined with behavioral observations, begin to emerge, and a more complete view into dolphin society and culture starts to become apparent. Kathleen Dezinski is one of those scientists who has been visiting RIMS for nearly 2 decades and conducting underwater behavioral research in addition to helping other scientists conduct cognitive studies with Terry.
I've been studying the dolphins at RIMS since 2003 and documenting as much information as possible about how they interact socially with one another. And that gives us a baseline of information about how they interact with one another, what their social structure's like, what each group or pair of individuals are doing with one another. But that just gives us their social intelligence, or how they interact with one another on a grand scale and individually. What we then need to do is look at how they interact cognitively, or what their cognitive abilities are, and that gives us other studies that we can look at to assess that.
Creativity has become a more accepted method to measure cognitive ability in humans. It is possible that creativity could be used as a tool to assess cognition in non-human species and allow for comparison of human to non-humans. Through a series of steps, Terry helps the dolphin to understand that he has the choice to create his own behavior. Individuality or personality can dictate how long Terry trains a dolphin for the Create study. In Lenka's case, he was a quick learner and well suited to these cognitive tests.
Hold on now.
Lenka understands that Terry's hand signals, or SD, with palms up and thumbs and pointer finger touching, means that Terry is asking him to choose any behavior that he wants. He chooses what he wants to do, a leap, a vocal, or a sink. What Lenka chooses to do and how he does it is a measure of his innovation, his creativity.
Instead of us always commanding them to do something, it's us giving them the chance to choose to do something. Okay. And that's why it's so fun, and that's why I think they never leave and they don't get bored, because they get the choice. And I'm finding that that's really important to these guys, as we found in their social setting. They want to choose who they hang out with, They don't always want to be paired up with the same animal. So choice is important to them. So I think that's why they like this type of training so much, because they get to choose. Think?
It's difficult, if not impossible, to train an animal in the wild for cognitive studies. So the opportunity afforded and the information gathered during this study are invaluable for the research team. Training is part of each dolphin's daily life, and it takes place rain or shine. It's an important part of enrichment, just like play and feeding. Training is also part of the bond between the human animal and the dolphin animal.
We're training this to see how the dolphins can read two-dimensional symbols. Yes, right? Instead of using all of these, hand signals that we use like this. Good. We want to see if they can actually read. Right, Vale? Let's see.
Bailey won't actually read the card that Meredith is holding because dolphins don't read the way humans do. And while dolphins do not show evidence of language, they do understand gestures and hand signals, and seem to be able to recognize and understand two-dimensional symbols.
Good job, Vale. Get a herring. Good. So Bailey knows a solid 9, and then going on to her 10th and 11th one. What we could do, once she knows all 11 solidly, then we can line them up like next to each other. So I could have hula and let's say the whistle, like this, right? And now she has the option. Which one is she going to read? She's going to read hula or whistle, or which one is she going to read first? Whistle on the right or the hula on the left? So it's going to be seeing how she's thinking and which one she's going to choose, or is she somehow going to do both at the same time, like hula and whistle at the same time, which would be really interesting to see. So that's one goal that we're trying to get to see, when they're going to read first, right, left, and if they're going to do the symbols together or the behavior together. So that's the next step with all these symbols.
The most important part about husbandry is the trust and the bond between the trainer and the dolphin. If the dolphin has complete trust in the trainer, the behaviors come much more easily. So Denry and I have been working with Richie for years and years, and when we had to do successive blood draws for a couple weeks in a row, one sample a week for several weeks in a row, just checking on his health, he would do some funny things, like he would almost give Denry his tail and at the last minute just juck it away from him so he couldn't. Remember Denry? We had to try all. Denry would hold him, and then I would try and get the blood draw, and then I would hold him, and Denry would try and get the blood draw, and it was just, we had to stand on our heads to get him to cooperate, but we were usually successful. It was pretty funny. He'd do it like this, right at the end. Good boy, very good boy.
Blood draws are an important aspect of dolphin health care. Richie trusts Denry and Terry. They have spent years bonding and reinforcing that trust, so that when it comes time for dolphin physical exams, Richie is a willing and voluntary participant.
Husbandry behaviors are a priority. Now we can just simply ask the dolphins if it's all right if we ultrasound them, if it's okay if we take a blood sample. Would you mind popping onto this microscope slide so we can see what's going on inside of your lungs? They are more than willing to cooperate in every one of those sample collections. It's opened a whole new door to learning what really makes these animals healthy and happy and thrive, both in human care and in the wild.
After each blood draw, the samples are sent to the in-house lab, and a single drop of blood is prepped for reading. The blood drop is put on a glass slide, dried, and stained, then viewed under a microscope, where a visual count of white blood cells can be conducted. This is a quick way to determine if there may be a health problem brewing prior to sending samples off-site for a complete analysis by the veterinarian. Dolphin culture is characterized by a fluid society that may appear promiscuous to humans, but courting and mating are enriching and part of the dolphin's normal day-to-day social routine. Dolphin calves are enriching to the whole pod, and they're a necessary part of the pod's social structure and a key element in its sustainability. An important tool in dolphin healthcare is the ultrasound machine. Ultrasound uses sound waves to look inside an animal's body. Most people are familiar with ultrasounds as they allow a view of their unborn baby for the first time. At RIMS, Terry uses the ultrasound to confirm a new pregnancy and to monitor gestation in the dolphin moms.
Hello, baby. Wow. Big baby. Here it is. See the rib cage? See the little bones? Here's the head. Beautiful. All right. Good job, Maury. Good job. Good. Very good.
Ultrasound is also used to monitor blubber layer thickness in all the dolphins, so that early detection of thinning blubber may lead to early treatment of potential health issues before they arise.
Are you that relaxed? You're that relaxed?
Some people may think or actually believe that animals in human care are either unhappy or suffering. But that's far from the case. Our animals are well taken care of. They're happy, they're healthy, they reproduce. What they're not thinking about are the animals in the wild. And those are the ones that are really in peril.
Ensuring the dolphins have good lives and welfare through enrichment, camaraderie, quality food, healthcare, and effective training have been primary goals since the inception of RIMS nearly 30 years ago. Continued staff dedication is vital to the success of this goal, as well as to provide the dolphins with a rich and stimulating environment. It is our responsibility, our legacy, to provide the best possible care for these aquatic emissaries.